Hey, it's Deborah with Flipping 50, and this is probably one of the most asked questions. I know it's in the top 5 that I've ever been asked over 37 years, and that includes working for a university, teaching students in kinesiology, working with faculty and staff at that university in our exercise clinic for research, and teaching in the private sector, both my own business as a personal trainer for years and for a club where I supervised a dozen, or actually 2 dozen, personal trainers in 3 different locations and all of the clients that they serviced. So I've been asked a few questions, okay? But here it is. How do I get motivated or stay motivated to exercise? So first, I'm going to give you a little tough love. The question that you really want to be asking is not how do you get motivated, not how do I get motivated or stay motivated. It's actually about how do you commit. So it's not about motivation, it's about commitment. So I liken this to being married, being in a relationship, even to being a mom. I mean, for me personally, one of the best things in my life has been being a mom. When I was young, really young, like playing with baby dolls, when I played house, I always had babies. I didn't always have husbands. Strange but true. And, here's the thing though, do you remember all of the pieces of being a mom? Getting up at 5 a.m. to take them to basketball practice at 5:30. You know how they are with gym use and staggering those things. And, at the time I was doing that, I lived in Iowa. So it was quite often sub-zero temperatures when you're doing that. And inevitably, someone who might even go to school 20 miles away has forgotten their shoes for basketball practice. Or you get it and you are at home after having dropped them off and you have to go back again. And, so were you always motivated to be a mom, or any role that you play? I don't know. I was committed, right? So every day wasn't necessarily motivating, but I think exercise is the same way and no different. Now, you may not enjoy it. You haven't gotten that place where you enjoy it, and some people never will. And I totally acknowledge that. I worked with a woman, Bev, for 7 years. We only stopped working together because she was taken from this world tragically. But she and I had a love-hate relationship. She hated to see me coming for the start of our sessions and loved to see me leaving. We trained at her home. And yet she knew she felt better when she exercised. She was not going to do it on her own, and she knew she needed it. So sometimes you have to come to that realization that that is where you two might be, but it is commitment. So making that commitment, I do this for myself and I love exercise. So that's not the problem, but I'm also now an entrepreneur, and as business grows and there are 2 arms of the business now, there are a lot of hats that I have to juggle. And there are a lot of people that can't do their job unless I can give them an answer to a question that they've got. And that means there is always this one more thing. There's one more thing and one more thing that I've got to do. And that means, my commitment to exercise is not any lower, but I have to be committed to pulling myself away and saying that list is never going to be done, and it will be there when I come back. And which is better, which is more important, me being 100% more energy, more healthy physically and mentally, or getting that one other thing done, and by the end of the day being exhausted and upset, frustrated because I don't feel good physically, mentally, and emotionally, right? So I urge you to take a look at that for yourself. Is it really, do you think that you have to be motivated? Because I'm not motivated to get out of bed every morning and, get started doing things that I don't always love those tasks, but I'm committed to doing them. And I think there's a big difference in looking at that, whether it's exercise or anything else. But let me give you some more concrete things in the line of direction that I think that question came from. And here they are. Number one, music. For me, music is such a big motivator. So I have a playlist of things that I love, and I've shared several times. Beginning of the pandemic, I actually shared on my Facebook page, my personal Facebook page, my playlist, but you will probably find that it is Billy and Bob and Bruce. Bruce Springsteen, Billy Joel, and Bob Seger are probably the predominant singers and songs on my playlist. I also will find Elton John there, but here's how I choose. So I choose songs that are rapid, somewhere between 140 and 160. That's a good clip to be doing a brisk walk or interval training with fast feet. And I do that on purpose. You want a pace that you can almost not keep up with, so that you're much more motivated to do that. Now, I am musically inclined, I'm rhythmic, and that's important. So for some of you, you may not feel that ever driven by the beat or the bass, but that's how I select my music. And then sometimes I also will just take my iPhone and I will just tune it into radio, and I will choose something that I'm not used to hearing, because that too is a good way to shake things up. Because if you become too attuned to the playlist, the songs, you even know the next song before it starts, you're probably a little numbed to it. It's not as motivating as it could be. And becoming aware of your surroundings is actually important, to feel like you took a break, you got away. So I'm thinking about walking outside as I'm talking about this, and you can probably tell that. That's another piece of the motivation for me. I'm not gonna walk on a treadmill and be super motivated about that. I will do it if I have to, but that's not really where I love to exercise. So the second thing is podcasts, and I will do the same. So going for a walk, but listening to a podcast, and I have actually attached certain podcasts to walks. So I know that episodes are going to come out for some of my favorite podcasts, usually on Mondays and on Thursdays, and I will plug those in, and I only go for a walk and listen to them. That's where I catch up. So I'm not going to do that sitting somewhere. I only will listen to them walking. So I look forward to going to walks and listening to the podcast, because I've tied them together. And don't ask, because I know sometimes people are asking, well, what podcasts do you listen to? And they're not health and fitness podcasts. They're actually business and marketing and sales podcasts, so that I can be more helpful to personal trainers and health coaches who are suffering so much in this year. Number three, do something you love. So I just described to you, for me, it's getting outside. It might be going for a walk or a hike, and then that's the most frequent and the easiest thing for me to do is walk out my front door. The alternative is, if I have a little bit longer, I can jump into my car, and in 10 minutes I can be on a trail, and I can be somewhere where it's about a 90-minute hike. So in 2 hours, I'm out the door and in the door, but I've had a real break from, not neighborhoods, but literally I'm hiking out in the desert and don't know anybody else is around. That's something I love. Maybe for you, it's exercise to music and in a group. For me, it's actually generally solo, because I can let my mind wander. And occasionally I'd love to go for walks with someone else and talk, but COVID pandemic, not conducive to that. Number 4 is do it to improve something else that you love. So this is for those of you that have not bonded with your exercise, don't love it like I love it. So my hardest thing is pulling myself away from my laptop is sitting right here and getting out the door because there's so many other things to do. It's not that I don't love that, it's just I have too much discipline, I think is the problem. But if you're not there, you don't actually love the exercise, even when you're doing it, even if you pair it with music or a podcast that you love, do it because it will help you improve something you do love. Let me give you an example. So my sister, my older sister, has been exercising off and on for years, decades. And, until, don't even know what it is now, maybe it's 10 years ago, a little less than that, she and her husband took up ballroom dancing. And until that moment, she really wasn't committed to regular exercise, but the ballroom dance, it became the exercise, but then it actually became the motivation for doing more exercise. Because when you do, she told me that when you do the Pilates and the strength training, it helps you carry yourself better and you have a better form when you're dancing. This is the important thing to her. And even that is beneficial for heart health, for cortisol levels, and it improves your posture and several things. And it's better than being on the couch, right? But on the continuum, it's not too intense. But the strength training and the Pilates and the rest of it help that. So she became more motivated because she wanted to be better at doing that and have it be more comfortable. Find what's your ballroom dancing? What's your equivalent? Maybe you enjoy playing tennis, or maybe you enjoy or want to be able to continue doing some things later in your life that you're fearful that if you don't make some changes, you won't be able to do. That's a legitimate piece of motivation. So there you have it. So I'd love to hear down below what motivates you or what supports your commitment. And maybe it's somebody. Okay? Subscribe if that was helpful. I'd love to hear from you. And for those of you who are interested and need a little bit of support, a program is always very supportive. This is Heart Health Month, and we are running a special on Fit You. That's for you if you have about 20 or more pounds to lose, because it's different for women than it is for mice and men and young women. Most of the research is done on. It's different if you have 20 pounds to lose versus 2 or 3 or 5. And I can help you with that. I've done all the research, pulled it all together, and I will take those workouts and put them right in your inbox every Saturday. So you're ready for the next week with low impact but higher intensity work and strength training exercise that's easier on your joints. All right, I'll put the link down below, and I'll see you on the flip side.